the one thing about that list I will say is it's got everything on it. It's got a clinical finisher in Brewster and at certain times Origi. It's got someone who can link up the midfield and attack in Minamino. The one thing it is critically lacking is the one person who can come in and play on the wing and has some blistering pace. So I haven't watched Ismail Assar as much as anyone else because I've literally only seen him in one game where he bagged 2 goals and 1 assist, and it was against us. So I can't really say if he's a good player or not. But is there anyone else who you guys think would fit that mould? Because for what the value would be for this season, I think it's a bit of a difficult one to try and bring a player like that in at the club.
What about Harry Wilson?
You think Harry Wilson's got blistering pace?
Whoa. I don't think it. I'm asking the question. What about Harry Wilson? Because 12 months ago, our fan base went crazy when we loaned him out to Bournemouth. We've now seen him in the Prem. We've seen what he can possibly do. So what? Are we basically saying he's not good enough for the club?
I don't think he's at the required level personally. I think he's probably like a bottom 10 Premier League player. Like he's a good player, but like for where we are right now, I just don't think he's anywhere near what we need. Like the Sarr links I find interesting because I like Sarr a lot, but he's almost too raw. I can see why we'd want to sign him because I think he's brilliant and he's got a super high ceiling, but I fear he'll take so long to adapt. Like not only is he very raw, but he's also a very shy lad. I'm not entirely sure he speaks good English. All those things matter because...
Mane will look after him, though. Both Senegalese. We saw those images with Troy Deeney in the tunnel, you know. So I think Mane, yeah.
But I think he's an intriguing player, so like I can see why Klopp would love him. He's got all the attributes. He's got the pace. Technically, he's quite good. So I'm intrigued by him. But Harry Wilson, I don't know. I think we should be looking for a new club for young Harry, really.
Why do you think no one is signing him?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think he's a weird player for me, Harry Wilson. He's another player where I just think, what's your best position? Is he right winger? Is he number 10? Is he number 8? Like, I kind of feel like he's one of those players that's fallen by the wayside and that like he's just a forgotten player. Like, I think he's a really good player. And I'm sure last summer there were clubs that wanted to buy him outright, but the club wanted to loan him out to a Premier League club and see how he did. But yeah, I don't know why people aren't in for him. I imagine COVID and maybe the market plays a role in that. But I think he's good enough for, like I said, a bottom 10 Premier League team. Like he's a fine player, but just not for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think teams like Newcastle are being linked with him. I think that Bournemouth loan spell was the make or break of him in terms of Liverpool. I think if he had gone there and shown that, you know what, I'm the man, I can step up, I can lead this team, then maybe he would have had a position in the team as a squad player. And let's remember, he started his time at Bournemouth on fire. He was scoring goals, penalties, free kicks. And we were sort of thinking, hold on, have we got a player here? This guy can potentially come in. But I think Bournemouth's season was very wretched. Obviously, it culminated in relegation. And I think if we can get 20, 25 million for him, I think that would be brilliant business.
Yeah, I feel as if it's a bit unfair on him because, again, like you said, he did start off the season really well. But then reading between the lines on what Jordan Ivey said on your podcast when he appeared, he was basically suggesting that the morale around that squad wasn't good and something wasn't right. So if you're not in an environment as a young player, all right, let's say Wilson's 22, 23 now, he's still young, it's still his big break in a Premier League team. If you're not in an environment where, you know, you feel as if you can really bring something to the team, you are going to suffer. So I feel sorry for him because the season did start off really well for him and it just completely fell apart. It's a weird one, but I just find it really interesting that no one ever seems to speak about him potentially being an option for us anymore.
So Fahi, in your humble opinion, do you think Harry Wilson has a place in Liverpool's attacking lineup?
I think if you guys think that Xherdan Shaqiri has a place in this attacking lineup, there is absolutely no reason why Harry Wilson does not have a place.
I disagree because
I disagree as well.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree because I watched Harry Wilson very, very closely last season because I was one of those fans last season saying, "Oh my days, how can we be loaning this player?" Two problems with Harry Wilson. One, he drifts in and out of games just too frequently. He's not in the game. Two, I think on the ball, he's not great for someone with such great striking technique. The way he manipulates the ball, it's not up to the standard of Liverpool.
He's lazy sometimes as well.
Shaqiri, unbelievable technique, unbelievable passing, And I think when it comes to just basic ball retention, I don't think Harry Wilson has it. And when you compare that to someone like a Xherdan Shaqiri, they're miles apart.
But do you not feel as if it could be something that's coached into him because he's still a very young player?
It can be coached, but not at Liverpool because he's not going to get enough game time to show his ability. I think he's a good player. And I think the expectation pre-COVID was to get 20 mil, from that sell. But obviously, from what I've heard recently, is that no one has that money now. No one has the money to spend on Harry Wilson. So there's a possibility that he may go out on loan again.
And just to add to that as well, I actually think they're both quite similar players. And I think Shaqiri's better than, so they have similar skill sets in terms of set piece ability, both play on the right-hand side. And I feel like Shaqiri is just a better version of Harry Wilson in most senses. And he has the experience too. And we kind of know what we're getting with Harry Wilson. Klopp likes to play players where he knows what he's getting. So he always reverts to that midfield of Fabinho, Henderson and Milner or Wijnaldum, one of those four. 3 of those 4, sorry. And he knows what he's getting with Shaqiri. With Harry Wilson, he's an unknown quantity to Klopp. And I think Dot makes a good point about him drifting in and out of games because that's something I've certainly noticed with him. And again, it's the sort of player that would produce a moment of magic, but he'd be on the cusp of a game. And that's not what we need, I don't think, for our front three, certainly.
And another factor is obviously Shaqiri is in and around that Melwood environment. So he's training with the likes of Mo Salah, Sadio Mane. Harry Wilson's been on loan to Bournemouth playing with inferior players. So coming back to Melwood, how is he sort of going to bridge that gap? That's another thing. And he's not going to get the run of games to be able to show his worth. So I think Operation Harry Wilson is probably over and it's obviously going to culminate in a sell.
Yeah, no, totally. I agree. I'm not team Harry Wilson. It's just more, I'm just kind of looking at the Shaqiri situation, looking at the Wilson situation. I'm like, Shaqiri's not available half the time. He's at an age where, he's not really going to get any better. Wilson, you could potentially build him up a bit more. But then again, like Dot said, you do need to kind of play him to get that experience. It's a bit of a weird one. I guess it is over.
Strange signs for Harry Wilson.
But then,
all
right, so one more question. All right, so if you had the option of selling Shaqiri right now for, let's say, for example, Lazio did come in for Shaqiri and they wanted to buy him for 19 to 20 mil, or you had the option of selling Harry Wilson for a loan for a season and then a guaranteed fee of 13 mil, which one would you take?
I will absolutely keep Shaqiri. I rate him very, very highly. Obviously, I know Klopp maybe has his frustrations with him and doesn't trust him. But me personally, I think what a player.
I don't rate Shaqiri that much. I think he's a good player, but actually, from a logical point of view, probably Shaqiri. Just because I think Harry Wilson will still be able. You still get that money next year for Harry Wilson. He's not much older, and I feel like Shaq's 29.
Yeah.
So I feel like his value is depreciating every single season and quite rapidly. So, yeah, if those 2 offers came in this summer, I think I'd be more tempted by the Shaq one. But I still do think Shaq's the better player. It's just his age means that I'd want to sell him sooner than Harry if the offer came in.
No, but the reason why I like Shaqiri, I probably overrate him, is because when I look at Liverpool's team, okay, you've got the first 11, yeah. If you had to pick someone on that bench who is a game changer, he's the first person I'm picking. And maybe that's because our standard ain't good enough after our first 11. But if you're asking me, okay, who's the person that's going to influence the game, it's Shaqiri for me. Because we've seen it on several occasions.
Krish, how do you feel about it?
About Shaqiri?
Yeah.
It's a weird one. It's his career is just littered with wasted potential when you look at it.
And loads of titles.
And they're true. It's more than yeah, his resume is quite amazing. You turn up for the job interview and you see all these accolades on his CV, and you're like, oh yeah, it's definitely higher this guy. And then 3 months into the role, you're like, bloody hell, what have we done here? But no, I think it's his availability that's into question more than anything. I think potential is definitely there. It's a weird one with him because when you need him to step up in certain moments, like when Salah was injured and he played the Barcelona game, I thought he was absolutely shocking, but he did put the one ball in for the goal. and he somehow managed to get away with this with escaping the criticism. But he was so crap, and then everyone was like, "Yeah, Shaqiri, man, he played that game." I'm like, and the game before again against Newcastle, he put the ball in for Origi's header, didn't he, to win that? So he has had some decent moments, but it's just the availability for me. I think with the games coming thick and fast right now, we've got some injury concerns about the front three too. Hopefully Salah's a bit more rested than he was last season, because I think he probably did have a bit of a niggle leading on from that Leicester game that hampered him for the remainder of the season. I think you need someone in there with that availability. But yeah, if you're offering me this hypothetical 20 million for Xherdan Shaqiri right now, and I can make a profit off him, absolutely, he's gone. I can let Harry Wilson go for a year on loan to a Newcastle or a Fulham,
and hope he does well there.
I think he would. It's weird. It's like you are right though. I mean, that environment at Bournemouth was definitely convulsive, and it probably did get a little bit out of control towards the end, where they're doing all they can, and then you've got all these players on fairly high wages not stepping up, and you do feel sorry for him from that point of view. But if you put him in a decent environment where he's got the right amount of coaching, I think he could flourish. And there's definitely reasons why Newcastle, Leeds, etc. are in for have a vested interest in this player. But as with everything, I think one thing that people are failing to understand with transfers in general right back now, a lot of clubs can't make the moves that they want to make because they still need to get the crap off their book to make incomings. So economically, it wouldn't make sense for someone to pay what we want for Harry Wilson when they can't get rid of, let's say Southampton, for example. Have they still got like a Buffal on their books or a Guido Carrillo, players like that? You need to shift these players on before you can bring new blood in. So it is what it is.
No, I fully agree. I think when you look at the way FSG operate as well, I think that would definitely get Shaqiri off the books. He's 29, as we mentioned, no sell-on value. And again, they'll probably think, Harry Wilson, go out on loan, show your value, then we can sell you for 30, 40 million. So yeah, I think I'll definitely get rid of Shaqiri.
When I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.